Hello, everybody. Today we are joined by Rola Abu Manneh. Rola is Chief Executive Officer of Standard Chartered Bank in the UAE, a role she has had since August of 2018. Rola was the first Emirati woman to head a bank in the UAE. Prior to this, she was working as a senior managing director at First Abu Dhabi Bank. She was also named on one of Forbes Middle East's top 10 most successful Emirati power businesswomen, as well as Forbes Middle East 100 power businesswomen. She graduated from Royal Holloway with a bachelor's degree in mathematical engineering and mathematics. Rola, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Saeeda, for having me here today. It's an honor, really, for me to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. Roland, mashallah, you have a fantastic career. You have grown up in banking and you are now at the helm of one of the largest and one of the best known financial institutions in the country. Share with us a little bit about your journey and perhaps some of the pivotal moments that shaped the way.
Thank you. Well, I would say it's been a journey of over 26 years over my career, and I have been fortunate to make the meaningful contributions to the industry and community in both on a personal and professional capacity. And these experiences have really underlined my dedication to further contribute to the development of Standard Chartered, where I am in now. And as you said earlier, I started off my career in First Abu Dhabi Bank. Uh, at that time, it was called National Bank of Abu Dhabi, where I joined them at the undergraduate program and went all the way from branch banking all the way to international banking, and my last post was running corporate and investment banking in Abu Dhabi. I would say these were fantastic years because I've learned a lot. I am the type of person that likes challenge, so every time I would ask for more responsibilities, more challenging jobs, because for me learning curve is very important even today till yet as a CEO. If I don't learn anything new, I would get bored. So I also tell my team it's very important that you learn every day. It does not the age doesn't matter. So, and that's what made me progress. I was always curious and always interested to learn more, understand more in banking, the different types of bankings. So at the same time, I've also focused on the business outcomes and open communication with the team. I have been with Standard Chartered for now over 2 years. By September, I'll be 3 years, and it's been a great 3 years. It's a big move for me because I moved from a local to an international bank. So there are lots of things I had to learn about the bank. Um, but I did know Standard Chartered from before. It was not new to me, but definitely your interaction with different regulators outside the UAE as well, and the regulator here. This is something that is new to for my career. I'm very happy where I am. It's we've made lots of changes and achievements to date. If you ask me about pivotal moments, I would say two things meant to me, which is, and this was when I was in Standard Chartered. We won two awards last year, Best Bank and Financial Sector Institution Supporting Gender Balance. This was a country award. And another award we won was the Best Organization Supporting Tawteen, which are the UAE Emiratization Award. These two awards meant a lot for me because it was two beliefs in terms of the gender balance as well as the Emiratization and how to the Emiratis progress in our bank. And obviously the bank and myself were so happy with this award because you had many other banks competing as well, but we got the first in the gender balance actually amongst 12 banks.
Very nice. Congratulations. Those are indeed wonderful awards to have won and to have gotten. Now, Stan Chart is, as you said, a very different beast than where you were previously. It's an international bank, very different setup, very different regulations, very different governance. What was it that attracted you to Stan Chart at this point in your career?
So, what drew me to Standard Chartered was really its culture of innovation. Because the bank is embarking on a 5 year journey where we're really investing into digital. Uh, and this has started before also me joining. Um, Huge investments have been made, and not only digital for the retail bank, but as well digital for the corporate bank. Because what we want to make sure is that the journey for the customer should be smooth and easy end to end. And this is the future of banking, which is very much digitization. The other thing, what drew me to Standard Chartered, and it was not new, but it does differentiate the bank, it is the global network. The, Given that the bank has been over 150 years in Africa, 160 years in Asia, at the same time, over 60 years in the UAE. So it really acts like a super connector for Asia, Africa into the Middle East. And its very deep roots and heritage in the UAE and the Middle East as well. And that was the second thing. Just by background, the bank opened its first branch in Sharjah in 1958. And the UAE is a regional hub for the Middle East and Africa for Standard Chartered. At the same time, our Islamic banking, our global headquarters is based in the UAE, and it's called Standard Chartered Sadiq. So it's all these elements which I would say it ticks the box because this is what we look for when we talk to our customers. It's the heritage, knowing the market, being part of the DNA of the country. That's very important.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think it's the ability to bring the best of the global and merge it with the best of the
Yeah.
local, right? That is what really and truly creates a winning proposition. So I couldn't agree more. You talked about digital and about the importance of digital and how that is one of the things that's driving your agenda. Digital is one of the probably many things that have been impacted, perhaps accelerated as a result of the pandemic. Could you
Mm.
share with us a little bit about how the bank has dealt with the pandemic and what do you see as some of the longer term implications of the pandemic on both Stan Chart as well as banking in general?
So obviously, the pandemic, it is something that none of us have experienced before. But what we did amid COVID-19, Standard Chartered introduced numerous measures to ensure we are contributing to the communities in which we operate in, and in line with our overall brand, which is here for good. And we plan always to continue on its purpose as our clients, communities, and colleagues emerge from the COVID period. For example, the next year or so will entail greater growth for Standard Chartered as we mobilize our efforts towards recuperating our operation and financial performance to pre-COVID levels. And this is what we're trying to do, come back to the pre-COVID levels. Now, our future in the UAE will allow a well laid out strategy that leverage post-COVID trends and adapts to the ever-changing market needs. And we do look to respond to the lasting social changes and further accelerate definitely our digital capabilities to adequately suffice consumer demand for the online transactions because this is the future for us. And what we know that COVID crisis has caused significant shift in the banking sector and has really accelerated the drive towards the digital agenda. Now, as I said earlier, luckily, the Standard Chartered has championed a digital agenda for decades and have introduced first of their kind digital offerings where you will open your bank account online end to end. We have this offering in 9 markets, including Africa. Our African countries were present in 15 markets. So for us, it is the future, and it is less branches, more reaching to our customers, making sure it is convenient and fast. And this is what they need. They need the speed and they need the convenience. So all the investments we're doing during these periods is to ensure that the future of banking down the line, which is very much post-COVID era. Now, during COVID, when
Mm.
COVID hit, just to give you a few examples, uh, we were we ensured that we are always there for our customers. So communication was also key, calling, checking on the customers, reaching out. And a number of them, they did not have online portals. So this is where the disruption in their business occurred. And we
Mm.
ensured that to avoid this, we are there for them. A number of them did realize that they needed to move to online portal, and hence we immediately started implementing their online portal, so that it is a smooth operation. Now, the ones that have already are online, whether when I mean in the corporate world, they did not suffer because they already have that setup in place, and so it was business as usual for them. Uh, but we had to be very visible for the customers as well as for the employees, because we worked from home. In April, we were 90% at home, 10% at work. So it was managing all of this experience, not knowing when will COVID end? And we are now a year down the line and still in a similar situation, maybe much better, definitely with the vaccine. But there was a lot of uncertainty at that time, and we had to manage all the uncertainty and expectations of the clients as well and the employees.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things a lot of the other leaders have talked about is exactly managing the people side of things. It was difficult to keep the morale up. It was difficult, perhaps, to keep the team working as one team. And frankly, there were some concerns around mental health as well. Is that something that you saw at Stay in Charge, and how did you deal with that?
Yes, definitely. I mean, employees' well-being is of crucial importance, and our goal as a bank is to equip our staff with the skills and to support to realize their potential. So our employees are indeed really they are the Standard Chartered Bank because they drive our success, and we understand that the health and overall well-being, it lays at the center of that. And as a matter of fact, COVID-19 has helped us prioritize mental well-being more than ever before. So if we look inside the bank, we're doing everything we can to ensure the mental, physical, financial well-being of our people. We're always supporting our colleagues to work flexibly. We had the flexible working policy before. So moving back home was just switching to Plan B for us. So it was not difficult, but yet we have there are many competing demands. You had to listen to to the colleagues, understand their needs. We had a lot of town halls, virtual town halls. I would go with my team or have a virtual town hall for all our staff in the UAE, talk to them, give them an update about COVID, what the country is doing. We always align with the UAE and giving them an update what we are doing as a bank, talking about our performance, and then also sharing with them how my day is when I was working from home, because you have to get personal. And it was
Yes.
very important, to give them an angle of how you start your day, given that you're working at home. So, how do you separate family and working? How do you avoid not getting distracted and stay in your routine? And so I had to do a lot of these things. And obviously, we open it for questions, so they would be free to ask questions. At the same time, we brought in different speakers, to talk to them about things that would interest the employees, those that were living alone. We would call and check on them because they were far from their families. And definitely, we should not forget our heroes, which are the 10% that kept coming to office to make sure that the lights are on everything, and they were managing the back end as well for the bank to ensure that we have that customer continuity. And we wanted to make sure that the whole environment is safe for those that risks their life for the bank and reward them after that. So we kept that communication. Communication and visibility was key for everybody, and being and coming up front as a team, as a united team, my management and I. And you would see that we've just recently announced that our remote working policies would exist following, the abatement of the pandemic, because we will be moving for the future of work now. And the UAE is one of the 9 markets across the 60 markets that Standard Chartered is in globally, where we are going to implement this because we see this is our future. Now, definitely, we have the right tools in place to measure the productivity, efficiency, cybersecurity, but connectivity with office. So it's more of a hybrid model where the staff would choose few days which to work from home and which days they will come to office. It is very important to keep that uh,
Yeah,
working, that connectivity from
very
office.
nice. And it's good to see the bank and the region take the charge and lead the way in innovation. It's absolutely the way that we're heading in the future of work. So I'm very glad to see and hear that that's where State Charge is already pushing towards. One of the things you mentioned earlier on in our conversations was the 2 awards that the bank has received. And I know from our discussions that diversity, inclusion, ESG are very, very important to the bank, and they're integrated in the fabric of the DNA of the bank. Will you share a little bit more about this with us? How do you go about making sure this is played out in a day to day across the bank?
So at Standard Chartered, we take gender equality very seriously, and we believe that inclusion is an organizational strength. So we've gone beyond diversity, it's inclusion. Now, the bank has already placed a tremendous focus on ensuring the men and women are seen as equal across the board globally, be it through the onboarding, it starts from the onboarding process to the compensation or any opportunity or representation. So, to give you an example, and if we're hiring, the panel that is interviewing has to be diversified. The candidates we have to have a diversified, list of candidates. We start from that. Our vendors, we also start looking at our vendors. We want to make sure that as much as possible, we encourage our vendors to be diversified. And this is all derived from our brand promise here for good, because we believe that inclusion is an organizational strength, which in turn will have a positive impact on key aspects of the bank's operational and managerial performance. So D&I, as we call it, diversity and inclusion, is paramount to unlocking innovation in the organization. And at the bank, we really take pride in our contribution to the UAE's female entrepreneurial ecosystem through our flagship Women in Technology Accelerator program, which aims as well, we do it for externally, which educates, enlightens, and finance female found startups in the UAE. So we do diversity and inclusion internally as well as externally. We support women in tech, and we take them through the full cycle of setting up their business and taking care of their financial requirements. And very similar, like the UAE at the
Mm.
bank, we're too continuously prioritizing the integration of new policies, commitments to drive this vision forward. So we've taken the initiative as well of increasing maternity leave from 90 days calendar to 140 days calendar for women. At the same time, for new fathers, we've increased the paternity leave from 5 days to 10 days, and they can use it anytime during the year. So it just reinforces our commitment to gender equity. We celebrate Women International Day. We also celebrate Men's International Day, which is on the 19th of November. Every country has a diversity and inclusion committee in the bank, which is chaired by the country CEO. So I chair it, and it's one of the many governance committees, the important ones in the country. And this is where we really track everything when it comes to diversity and inclusion externally as well as internally. And as I said earlier, our global head of diversity and inclusion is our CEO for the corporate and institutional bank, and he is a male, Simon Cooper.
Very nice. Rilla, how do you balance it all? You have a very demanding, very successful career. You have a beautiful family. How do you balance things?
Uh, that's a very difficult question. I would say that's the hardest of all the questions you asked me. Look, you know, I would say if I describe myself, I'm a type of person that I cannot rest, which is wrong. It's not right. So that would not be my piece of advice. I think it is time management and prioritizing. And I've always said, as a woman, if we want to come out and have a career, any career, we need to make sure that we are also, we don't leave our family behind. So family comes first. It is very important that the setup at home is there, everything is in order, and then when you go out at work, you really need to make sure that everything at home is in order. Now we're lucky in the UAE because we have help around us. I've always had my family around me, and they're still here with me in the UAE. So when my kids were young and babies, and I used to travel a lot, I used to leave them with my mother, or she would come here. And then as they grew up, they became independent when they went to nursery. But you do notice that kids with working mothers, they are independent and they get used to it.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't hurt them. It actually, uh, makes them stronger because they get used to doing things on their own, doing their schoolwork on their own. These are things that my kids they are independent and they do it. Um, but it is very much time management and prioritizing. But I would say, if I look back, I would say it is important to have me time. That's very important because you cannot just keep running around and not have me time for yourself, whether male or female. It's really important for any busy individual to have me time.
Yeah, I agree. But that's a tough one to strike, right? Because when you're away, when you're working, you feel guilty about the me time too. So,
And you know what? Kids will make you always feel guilty. but
yeah.
but because they're smart, they would want to, and especially the mothers, they would always say, oh, you missed this event at school, and I used to always make sure I am there at every school event. If I can't make it, my husband also would, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it was always important that one of us is there. I would One thing I never wanted always to miss was the uh, PTA, the parents teachers, because that's important to know that about their progress. And this is one thing they didn't want me to be there because I used to ask the teachers a lot of questions.
Yeah. I can imagine. No, indeed. Wonderful. As we close, Rola, any words of advice that you'd like to share with some of the younger women and men that are starting out their careers?
So I would sum it up is it is very important to be resilient, and this is what COVID has taught us, resilience, because you can, uh, stand up to any challenges in life. Confidence is key, and I would, the younger generation and their education, they would definitely have that. It's not difficult. So these two are very important because they would build leadership. Hard work, especially as you're growing up in your career, hard work and having that curiosity and learning. And I did talk about learning at the beginning. It is very important to show that you're curious as an individual and you want to learn. Because unless you learn, you will not progress. And this is how you invest in yourself, constantly reinvent yourself and stay relevant, whether it's through the technical skills or like understanding artificial intelligence or even learning about leadership skills to sharpen your emotional intelligence. So these would be my advice really to the generation. It is important that you have that courage and conviction in building the blocks and believe in yourself and follow your passion.
Very nice. Very well said. Thank you, Rola. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. It's really my honor, Dr. Saida. Thank you.